Dear Rental Scale Up members, today I'm with John Sukhia. He's the co-founder of Topkey, a solution that would be of interest to a lot of you if you are a vacation rental manager or a super owner with a lot of properties. We'll be talking about expenses, how to solve issues, how to find your way through expenses, making sure you're able to allocate them well. Without further ado, let's welcome John. John, how are you?
Good. Great to meet you, or not meet you. See you again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you've just I will tell you in a moment how we met. But first,
Yeah.
congratulations!
Thank you very much.
You just raised some money, right? Can you tell us about this? How much did you raise?
Yeah. So we just closed our seed round. We raised $5.1 million, or excuse me, $5.2 million, led by Felicis Ventures, based out of San Francisco, with follow-on participation from Andreessen Horowitz and Y Combinator, as well as a number of great venture capital firms and other angel investors, in the round.
Well, fantastic to have these big names backing you, and I can say this all the more as I'm personally happy in a sense that you on your side you trusted me a couple of months ago. It was like a year and a half, where you were just starting out with your idea, right? You were a man with some paper or some spreadsheets, mostly Notion, kind of things like this, and we started talking basically about what you wanted to solve and the pains you had. So can you maybe start talking to us, like, what was your initial idea? What did you want to solve?
Sure. So, maybe taking a step back, when I kind of set out to build a company, I initially started something different. And I think that's true for a lot of founders and companies, that you start down a road to build something, and then you end up pivoting, if you will, and looking to solve something else or see a bigger problem or bigger pain point. So I had left Airbnb in the fall of 2020 to start Topkey, which at the time was building something very different, which was a marketplace to connect property managers and owners. And as part of that process, my co-founder and I got into Y Combinator, and basically spent the early part of 2021 just heads down trying to build out this marketplace. And again, the idea there was just a platform where homeowners could come and compare vetted property management companies, and we would sign up the property managers, get their kind of pricing and relevant information, and then kind of present a roll-up of different costs, qualitative and quantitative kind of variables that an owner or an individual would want to compare before making a decision. And so that was our big idea. And what we found as we went through that process was, for a number of reasons, it wasn't the type of business that was going to be a scalable venture-backed company. And we were, had raised venture capital, going through Y Combinator, but not enough to really be committed to that idea, which is the great thing about going through an accelerator and spending the time to kind of really dig in. My wife and I had actually moved to Santa Rosa Beach, Florida at the time, 30A, which is a very, very big vacation rental market in the United States, one of the largest, highest concentration of vacation rental properties, I think maybe like second or third in the US outside of like Orlando. So it's a very kind of dense area for this. And we moved there so we could be in that market. I could get to know these managers, I could work with them. And then previously at Airbnb, and I had worked with a lot of them as well. So I had a lot of context for the market. So decided kind of in the summer of 2021 that we were going to pivot, and we didn't really, we had a kind of a clean slate. So I spent a better part of the remainder of the year just going back to the drawing board and doing customer interviews, talking to property managers, talking to Airbnb owners, but primarily the property managers who we had been working with on the previous version of the business. And I think I did over 100 calls with property managers. And, one of the things that kept popping up as we were having these conversations was financial operations, tracking of expenses, kind of managing the operating workflows that property managers have to deploy as they scale their business becomes really complicated and messy, and can oftentimes lead to errors, and as well as frustration on the owner side. And it's what ultimately results is very slow processes to close their books, both their operating books and their trust accounts. If you're a vacation rental manager, this just becomes a kind of increasingly complex challenge as you grow. So that was the spark that led to us thinking there was a better way to manage all of this. And we spent a lot of time then separately working to kind of understand and think about what solutions would be relevant based on all the technology that exists today. And that's really what drove the vision for the business. I'll stop there. There's a lot of context, but that's a good kind of summary, I think.
So indeed, so you had this vision, right? Again, it's just out of the blue. You have experience. You used to work at Airbnb, so you met with property managers. You then, even in this venture, you got to talk to even more property managers, and we met at some point where you at that time I was offering some consulting service, and we worked together. It was very interesting to me because we worked basically on trying to understand, I think, right, how vacation rental managers and property owners with multiple properties, for example, how they manage their expenses. And I think it was very interesting to me, for example, right, to discover that, which is not surprising for us in the industry, but like, you may grow so fast, like with 20, 30 properties, or even more, that you basically you have no system in place, and it's great, you're growing, but you lose track of what some expenses, where to allocate them, you don't know this. And what's very interesting is that for me, when I did this work with you and interviewing people, I discovered it was also very big property management companies on paper that had these issues for all kind of good reasons, right? And that a lot of people were using also the credit card, which for European is a discovery, obviously, right? That a lot of businesses would charge everything on their credit cards. So to me, it was super interesting. But so what were the I don't know, a few key insights you got from these interviews that got you like, maybe we should go in this direction. That's what we should be solving for.
Yeah, for sure. And so you were one of the most helpful people on that journey, right? Because we I don't know how we got connected. I forget now, but we were. We started working together as kind of on a consulting engagement to just dig in on the market. And I was really grateful to work with you and kind of look at the market and get a sense of, hey, basically what we wanted to better understand is, we had an inkling of an idea, which was there was a pain point that kept coming up in these conversations around basically tracking. If you kind of step back for a minute, it's really at the core first principle level, like, how is my business doing? I'm a business operator. Probably if you're building a vacation rental company, it's not a nonprofit, it's a for-profit entity. And there's a lot of systems and software out there today to help manage the kind of distribution, if you will. So, that's the world I came from. I was at Hotel Tonight, before that Starwood Hotels, and then Airbnb. Ultimately, distribution's something that is, obviously very critical for our industry. How do you push inventory, rooms and rates, et cetera, to different systems, and how do you maximize yield to increase RevPAR and ADR? But those things have been, there's a lot of software and tools that you can use, and managers had a lot of different exposure to those types of systems. But when we talked to those managers and we said, hey, what are other pain points that are keeping you up at night? A lot of it was, I'm managing these properties. I'm not really having a great grasp of the profitability of each property. I'm spending a lot of money on out-of-pocket expenditures. These things are being paid on behalf of my owners, and those costs then are not being tracked. And I'm doing it very manually.
And to give, again, concrete examples, right? I think we have this case of this person who says, when something's broken in a couple of places, my maintenance guy would go to Home Depot and just buy stuff and have this one bill, right? And I'm like, we don't really remember for which property that was, and to your, as you said, I end up eating it because I don't know to which property owners to charge, right? Do you have other like super concrete examples
Sure.
of you see and people
There-
like the pains?
Yeah, there was a couple examples. One is, being in the vacation rental market, I would just go to the offices of a lot of my friends and people I knew in the industry, and I would say, "Can I just follow you, your maintenance guy, around for the day?" So I did this a couple times, and I would watch their process. So they would show me how they were charging expenses at Home Depot or Lowe's, and then oftentimes what I was observing, and then what was that they were just taking a receipt, sticking it in their glove compartment of their car, and then at the end of the day, they had a stack of receipts. They were then going back to a bookkeeper, typically for a medium-sized company, maybe it's a director of finance or director of ops. Smaller companies, it's the owner of the business, and they're basically going, here's my receipts for the day. And then those receipts, depending on how organized that person is or not, just get stacked up on another desk. And then at some point at the end of the month, the books need to be closed. So, and it's usually the 3 to 5 days after the month's closed. And I noticed we were having a lot of conversation with property owners and going, I can't talk this week. I'm trying to close my books. And there was like a real obvious pain points. Like, why is it taking you a week to do this? Well, you have owners, your owners need these statements. You sometimes get paid or you need to remit the net. It's really important that information is accurate and correct. We've seen some data to suggest that after 2 owner's statement mistakes, a property management client will start looking for a new property management company. So this is a really interesting thing to see, and this anecdotally makes a lot of sense. You've heard this from managers going, yeah, my owners get frustrated with me if I'm not on time with my reports and I'm not accurate. And anyway, so that was one piece. Another was just this huge kind of stack of receipts that folks are kind of trying to manage within, or somewhat cumbersome processes around Google Docs, Excel spreadsheets. Some folks have figured out ways to patch together systems like Expensify or QuickBooks and try to patch together solutions that were able to track this stuff, but it wasn't really being done centrally or with any real methodical insight. It was just kind of learned or just haphazard or not done at all.
So that's a lot of in pains, and probably people watching and listening be like, yes, that's us, that's how it is. And so let's talk about Topkey now. So Topkey now, how are you solving for these pains, right? How are you making this clear and easier?
Yeah, so we are a full-scale financial operating platform that allows a property manager to track expenses centrally in real time from the moment a transaction has been made, affix that transaction directly to a specific property and to a specific category, and ultimately push that transaction to their accounting software and their PMS software. And in addition, we have the ability for managers to pay invoices or vendor payments that are made on ACH or wire through our platform as well. And finally, we have the ability for managers to track those transactions in the same manner. So we do that through automation, through text functionality. And I can walk through an example that might be probably the easiest thing to do, but that's really at its core what we're building and what we've built to date. So maybe the example. So a property manager on Topkey can issue unlimited virtual cards and physical cards to their team. So for instance, your bookkeeper has, or excuse me, not your bookkeeper, you might give 4 or 5 cards to your individual maintenance team. And when the maintenance team goes out in the field, they swipe their card 6, 7, 10 times a day. Every time they swipe a card, they're getting a text from Topkey with that specific transaction link to a web form. They open the web form, they can snap a photo of the receipt, they can affix that transaction to a specific property. We've preloaded all those properties into the dashboard, and they can upload a tag to label the property, or label the transaction to a specific category. Bill to owner, for instance, bill to guest, assigned to inventory, or assigned to corporate. And then finally, we can automate the process by which we tag that transaction in their accounting software to the right general ledger category or vendor class, whichever, through automation, as well as through the ability for them to, because we pull in that data directly. So once they've completed that very simple process, it takes seconds, then the information has been saved and stored and is posted on our dashboard, and the manager can provide their bookkeeper access to then approve the transactions and sync them directly to today their accounting software. So we integrate with platforms like QuickBooks and Xero, or their PMS, and we're building integrations to Streamline and Track and other systems to basically take the transactions that need to be billed to the owners and push them through to close the loop. And this saves managers 30, 40 hours a month in bookkeeping, but it also really ensures that every dollar that you're spending on behalf of a property has been accurately tracked and will allow you to fully reimburse your owners for those transactions and avoid having costs basically get eaten by you or your operations team, which is a really big piece of this, which is just making sure that you haven't lost money on transactions that you just didn't or inadvertently forgot to categorize back to a property.
So, and I guess as well, if, for example, one of my maintenance guys or person leaves the company, I can just void that credit card, and it's also a way also so one way to do it, right? I can also right, because it's also the way to see who is doing what as well, right? It's also,
that's right. So you have full flexibility to change limits on cards. You can create custom cards and you can assign them to specific properties. If someone leaves, you can freeze cards very programmatically. It's really, it's taking advantage of all the kind of modern, streamlined fintech software that's available, and we're building on top of very sophisticated Rails structure, and that allows us to do very programmatic card issuing. So, for instance, if you want to create individual cards and assign a card to a property, if you're doing onboarding, this is something we've seen at some of our companies request, so we built. You can create a card that just is tagged to a specific property. You can add these cards to Apple Pay, so you can create a virtual card in a second, add it to Apple Pay, and then use it in the store or obviously online. And then any transaction will just tag directly to the property. You don't even have to have it, have your maintenance team assign it. We can do it automatically. And so for managers, it just makes their life much easier to have a streamlined way to be able to track things and ensure that transactions aren't being, spent out of pocket. And you have full control. You can create custom card limits. So you could say, hey, this card has a $500 limit. This one has a $20,000 limit. And you can change those in real time.
And John, that's super clear on how. So that's super clear on the benefits and how we would use it. So can you walk me through? I want to work with you. Sounds super interesting. I go to topkey.io maybe to learn more, and what happens in the sense that maybe for me to be able to understand, is it like a standalone solution? You said it can connect to different bookkeeping, accounting software. You mentioned PMSs. So how does it work from standalone to integrations?
Sure.
How, if I want to put this into my current system, how should I think about it?
Yeah, so from an onboarding perspective, it's really simple, and we work really closely with the companies that we've brought on today. So in many respects, it's white glove in the level of service we're giving, and that's up and including things like setting up like a weekly call with the bookkeeper of new companies that we're onboarding, and basically giving them 30 minutes dedicated to just walk through any issues or anything that they want to like specifically have custom even built for their use case. We've had a few of those instances, but from how we operate, a manager would basically get approved to use our banking tools. So you would be underwritten. Today, we're only working with companies in the United States. So you would be a US-based property management company. You would then have, it takes 5 seconds to apply. We underwrite the company and we give you a bank account, and then we give you a credit limit where we issue Visa credit cards. So you would have a full Visa card that you would have access to. And once that process is complete, you would order cards. We'd send those cards to you, and then you would set up your integrations. And right now, how that works is it's basically you click a couple buttons and we sync up to your accounting software. And we're in the midst of building our PMS integrations. Those are more bespoke because each system is different. But by and large, it's the same process. You would basically walk through a sign up flow for the direct integration, and then we would allow you to then start pushing those transactions directly to that system. So what we've seen to date is like it's taking companies as little as 45 minutes, basically one onboarding call, and about 20-30 minutes to set things up on the first time. It's really easy, and it works really well within their existing workflows. You can use Topkey, in several ways. You can use the credit cards, or if you use our banking tools as well, you can use our bank accounts and push money into. We're releasing a trust account as well, which allows managers to push in funds from bookings as well. And in many states earn interest on those accounts. So this is like another feature that has been requested. And we think this just makes it so much more simple for managers to operate when you have everything in one place to see in one full kind of picture.
So let's just last question. So what are you going to do? Where you see yourself going, in the sense that you talked about upcoming PMS integrations. What more are you thinking? If you can talk about that, what more do you have on your mind because it is interesting, right? You are solving a real issue with an interesting solution. Do you see even more things you could be solving?
Yeah. So one thing that we're really deeply delving into is more around the reporting and the insights side. So a lot of managers manage properties and they don't necessarily have great insights into the spend per unit. And getting the ground level data that we have with companies that we work with, because we have the credit card transactions as well as the bill pay transactions, and we have the ability for us to basically gather a composite picture of spend at each unit and then share that in various ways. So that's one example of something that we're building custom tooling around, and we're working to kind of create more reporting in that instance, and just to be able to say, hey, what is the spend at this specific unit? What are the outputs that go into my biggest costs? Maybe even looking at like vendor spend and saying, hey, this cost is really high relative to others in the market. What am I doing wrong? Maybe I should consolidate this specific line item. So there's a lot that we can do there. We haven't kind of prioritized that to start because we need to get the infrastructure and the financial tooling in place. But that is one thing that we've spent a lot of time on. Another thing I would say is we're using and deploying tools. AI is pretty hot, right? Like a lot of companies are talking about AI. Really what we see AI as being relevant for us is in terms of taking existing tooling and like layering on solutions that just make the tooling work better. And so for us, it's something that we've been experimenting with our bill pay product, for instance. So we just released V2 of this bill pay product, and like you can upload a transaction or upload an invoice and it just reads it and it just populates, and it can piece apart things like bill for this property, Beach Blue 23, Beach Blue 24, Beach Blue 25, and it can read separately those line items and put it out. And then we can say, hey, these three need to be tracked back to a property and an owner. And if you have 80 properties and you're sitting on 50 to 100 invoices a month, I guarantee your bill.com is not doing this for you in that programmatic way. So it's something that we're excited about. And then I think what you'll see in the product, and what managers have already kind of flagged, is you're just going to see that kind of sprinkled throughout the product as we continue to build. So those are two things. One other, which I would maybe just share, is partnerships. We have a lot of companies in our industry that we know, we work with, and obviously we're integrating with a lot of our PMS partners. Because we're credit card, there's a lot of cool things we could do around rewards and different things of that nature. So again, not something we've prioritized to date. Right now, we offer 1.5% cash back on every dollar. And it's a very simple kind of structure there. So it's unlimited cash back. But in the future, I think there's some really creative things we'll be able to do for higher levels of rewards above that. So
super. I mean, again, congratulations on having this up and running product now, this company raising that amount of money and all these plans. And then I'm very happy for you, John. If people want to contact you or know more, what's the best way to reach you?
Sure. So you can always sign up on our website. One thing to note, we're kind of fully revamping our website, so we're going to have some new bells and whistles and kind of revamping the structure there. But you can also just email me, John, Jon, at topkey.io. Very responsive there, and those would be the two places to go if you want to learn more. And we'd love to talk to you if you're a manager and you're trying to figure this out. We geek out on this pretty much all day, every day. So we're happy to, even if it's just to discuss strategies, talk about systems that you're working within, we're happy to set up time to do that. So
fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for talking today with the Rental Skill Up.
Thank you so much. Yeah.